Charles is with us as Fritzy gives us the thumbs up. Hi, Charles. How are you?
Man, I'm doing wonderful. Ready for this Final Four. There's nothing like the Saturday day at the Final Four, man. It's really cool.
How much energy does it take to do? Because you guys were doing a lot of shows, a lot of hours there.
Well, the first 2 days they're not a lot of fun. You're on from you show up about 10:30 in the morning, but you're on from 12 to 12. And my concern is this is the biggest time of the year, and I want people to know that I'm having a good time. But it's hard to keep your energy up for 12 and a half straight hours on television. I mean, I've been trying to get them to change it, to do have two crews.
Yeah.
One from 12 to 6 and one from 6 to 12, but they don't want to do that. And but listen, it's hard to stay energized for 12 because I don't think people understand we're on 4 different networks at the same time. I mean, we got 4 shows going on at the same time. It's pretty hectic.
Yeah, I could see where you're trying to keep up with all of it. And you've been doing NBA all year long, you and Kenny, and then all of a sudden you jump into college basketball. Look, I've been watching college basketball all year, and it's hard to follow all the names, all the people, and, trends and everything like that. So,
well, I think they do a really good job. We get a written report. We get emails every week on every conference. And then we get written reports. It was so funny. A couple of those scumbag New York reporters, said the guy the wrong name. And they wrote an article because TNT, they're so sensitive. They worry about what everybody thinks. I said, dude, don't worry about them scumbags who write in New York. They just think they're bigger than they are. They're not that big. They just got a captive audience. And I said, hey, I said a guy's name wrong. Did I kill anybody? Don't overreact to them scumbags in New York.
Are you rooting for Kentucky to run the table?
I don't root for anybody, Dan, in NBA or college. I just want to do my job. I never care who's going to win. I'm casual good friends with John Calipari. I like him a lot. You got to love Izzo. Izzo might be the coolest coach. And Coach K, I do his show occasionally.
Okay, but who would you want to play for of the Final 4 coaches? Who?
Well, I don't think you can pick that out now because I think they all. And I tell you what's interesting. And the one thing I said going into this tournament, I thought the top 8 teams were better than anybody else. And the one coach who broke through that was Coach Izzo. He's just a terrific coach. But listen, man. Coach K coached me on the first Dream Team. I revere that guy. But Cal's a friend. I got nothing but respect for Coach Ryan. But I don't think you can want to play for a certain coach. You play, man. That's the thing that bothers me about the NBA. I never complain who was my head coach. You just do your job. They're paying you millions of dollars. You just do your job.
Charles Barkley, TNT, NBA analyst, covering the Final Four, joining us, Dan Patrick Show. The whole Religious Freedom Reform Act in Indiana, and I talked about how sports intersect sometimes with religion or politics and can help bring about change. If the Final Four is not in Indianapolis, is anybody talking about this Religious Freedom Reform Act?
Probably not. Listen, people. I thought that I never said it's too late to move the Final Four this year. I think that we should have to consider that going forward because you can't stand for discrimination in any shape or form. Because it can change the words. We don't want to serve blacks. Don't want to serve Muslims. And it was a very interesting provision in that thing about military service. Can you imagine because I do a lot of work with the Wounded Warriors. Can you imagine if a soldier went into a restaurant and somebody didn't believe in war, they could refuse him a meal? So, listen, man, we just got to stand up for discrimination. Even if it's not your group, you should stand up. And that's what I tried to do. I'm not going to let my gay friends and lesbian friends, because you know what's interesting? I saw a bunch of white straight guys talking about same-sex marriage and gay and lesbians last week on television. I thought it was hilarious. I did. I thought it was hilarious. It'd be like a bunch of white guys sitting around talking about making laws for black people without getting black people's opinion. It bothers me when that happens. We had no gays and lesbians on television the last week talking about this. We only had straight people, and it really pissed me off.
Is there a platform that's built in by CBS with mentioning this weekend?
I don't think they're going to mention it. I mean, obviously, because they've changed the law. So, that's all. Listen, because I had talked to them last week that I was going to release a statement for that. And they okay, not like they could tell me what to do. They can't fire me. So I told them I was going to release a statement. They were very supportive. And listen, man, I think the governor did the right thing. You can't discriminate against people. That's the bottom line.
All right, couple basketball items here. And I'm not sure where you want to start. I saw where LeBron has now moved past Patrick Ewing. So he's 20th on the all-time scoring list. If he ends up top 5 in scoring, top 5...
Well, that doesn't... That first of all, that's not really a great stat.
Well,
my point is... my point is, every time they talk about those stats, they're bogus. Patrick Ewing played in college for 4 years. LeBron had a 4-year head start. Like, they show all these stats about what these guys who didn't go to college did. They don't mean anything to us older guys because they played 4 years more.
Well,
it's because I looked at a stat, and listen, I got nothing but respect for Kobe Bryant. But when you compare the number of games that Michael Jordan played, Michael Jordan is 5,000 points ahead. So don't just because guys didn't go to college and they're breaking all these records, that does not impress me at all. I'm pretty sure if I played 4 years more than Wilt Chamberlain or Bill Russell, I'd probably have more points than them.
Well, you got 23,700. So if you played 4 more years, I'd add 8,000 more. You'd have 31,000. You'd be right there with Wilt Chamberlain.
But that's my point. So the stats are really they don't really mean a lot. Listen, I love LeBron. He's a great kid and a great player. But to give him a 4-year head start on Patrick Ewing, and just because he passed him, come on, man, that does not impress me.
But if he ends up top 5 in scoring and assists, how do you view that when it's all said and done with LeBron James? Where we always want to rank players.
Well, he's in my top 10 of all time.
But can he go top 5 if he goes?
No, my top 5 can never be broken. He could get up there with Kobe if he wins 3 or 4 more championships. Well, number 1, I got Michael. Number 2, I got Oscar. And I got Wilt, Bill Russell, and Kareem. And I don't see anybody ever getting in there. And I put Kobe, he's 6, and LeBron and Tim Duncan are right there with Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. And you can flip-flop Bird and Magic in there. But I don't think anybody – no, let me rephrase that. There's nobody ever going to get in my top 5. If you go back and actually study your basketball history, everybody's making a big deal out of Russell Westbrook getting like 7 triple-doubles. Oscar Robertson averaged 1 for an entire season. They're going crazy every night, starting off the worldwide leader. They're like, well, this guy he got his 7th triple double. I'm like, yeah. When he averaged 1 for a whole season, call me back.
Also, when you look at what Harden is doing, and
he should be the MVP. James Harden, listen, no disrespect to Steph Curry. James Harden should be MVP, and I've said this 2 months ago and 3 months ago. If he can keep them in the top 2 or 3 seeds in the Western Conference, which is by far and away the best conference, obviously. If he can keep them in the top, if he can keep them in the home court the first round, and that's no disrespect to Steph, I would vote. I don't have a vote. Ernie's the only person on our show who gets a vote, and we've had some conversation about that. But my personal opinion is I would vote for James Harden. If he can keep them with Dwight Howard missing over 40 games, I would vote for James Harden.
Yeah, and Westbrook just trying to get into the playoffs and not having Durant here. But I think that Steph Curry is a disadvantage because he doesn't play the fourth quarter, because he doesn't have to play, and he hasn't had a meaningful game because they've played so well. He's the best player on the best team. That has to account for something.
Sure, it does. It does. But we always say we always reward winning. But I think what the Rockets are doing is pretty incredible. I mean, listen, James Harden is doing this by himself, basically. I mean, Trevor Ariza is not having a good year. I'm not even sure. If you ask me a question right now, who's the second best player on the Rockets right now? That's a fair question, Dan.
I know. And Beverly's out for the year.
But he's not the second best.
No, well, I'm trying to.
If he had 3 wrists, he wouldn't be the second best player on the Rockets. But seriously, think about that. If you like, when I'm watching these games, I'm sitting there looking like, how are the Rockets still winning? And then James is the only reason they're winning. I'm not sure who's the second best player on the Rockets team right now. And listen, that's not a stab at Steph. Steph is right there. But we always like Steve Nash. He deserved MVP because but I'm telling you, if the Rockets finish right now, they're in the second position. They're in the second position right now, and if they can hold on to that second spot, maybe even drop the third, my personal opinion, I would vote for James Harden.
And also, LeBron is now experiencing what Michael Jordan experienced, where people voted against Jordan. They wanted a better story. You were a better story. You had a great year.
No, that's not what happened.
That is true.
No, it's not.
There were 3 guys that left him off the ballot.
Well, I don't know. Listen, dude, I got screwed in MVP one year. One year, I should have won it in 88, 89.
Was that when Magic won it?
Yeah, it was the closest vote ever. I got every first-place vote and no second or third place or fourth-place votes. These reporters, I don't know what they do. Listen, and the only thing that bothered me, I didn't mind Magic winning it. I wanted to win it. But I don't understand, like this year, if I'm voting, it's got to be Steph, James, or Russell, and maybe LeBron 4. That's it. If you vote for anybody else, they should take your ballot.
But don't you think people are not going to vote for LeBron, even though he's the best player on the team, probably favored to win it all? And
because it's never been. Did Magic Johnson win it every year? Larry Bird win it every year? It goes to the best player who's having a really good season, his team. See, we have these silly debates every year. It's never went to the best player. Steve Nash wasn't the best player. If you go back and look at Magic and Bird, they didn't win it every year. But whoever had the best regular season on the best team, they won it.
I think
it's like Shaq has this silly argument. Yeah, he was better than Steve Nash, but the 2 years Steve Nash won it, they had the best regular season record. It's never been to the best player. Like every year the Bulls had the best record, Michael won it. And the years the Utah Jazz had the best record, Carl won it. The year I won it, we had the best record in the NBA. That's the way it's always been.
But Steph Curry has the best record in the NBA.
And I have no problem voting for Steph. I got no problem with that. But I'm saying if James Harden, Steph has a lot more help, number one. And that's no disrespect because everybody has help. But if James Harden, without Dwight Howard for 40, I think he missed over 40 games. If he can keep them competitive in a home court in the Western Conference, I think that says something. Like I said, I got no problem voting for Steph, but I'm saying James Harden has just been amazing. He's leading the league. He's going to be leading the league in scoring more than likely, and he's the only reason that they got the second seed in the Western Conference. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
You're not going to ask me any silly LeBron questions about he didn't take a picture with Kevin Love and, oh, my God, these idiots on other networks. I'm like, wait a minute. We got grown-ass men. Grown-ass men.
Wait. Can I take a break and come back and ask you about LeBron and Kevin Love?
Sure.
Would you rather win the NIT or lose in the first round of the NCAA tournament?
All right, Charles, what would you rather do?
Well, I think it depends on what kind of team you got. Like if you got a young team and you want to keep playing because you probably get an extra month of practice. So I think it would depend on the team you have, to be honest with you.
Okay, let's say you're a decent let's say you're a Big Ten team, ACC team, and you lose in the first round, or you're Stanford and you win the NIT last night.
Well, I'd rather probably be Stanford. I mean, first of all, they're probably getting some money for it, so it's going to help the program. But the main thing, your players are getting experience. I guarantee the teams that already lost aren't still practicing.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I'd rather be Stanford.
I'm full of them, Dan.
You're what?
I'm full of right answers.
Just ask you.
Yeah.
All right. The Kevin Love, LeBron James situation. Sum it up now. Give us the bottom line with what is really important about their love affair.
I've been kind of vaguely keeping my eye on the NBA during this thing. And I'm watching grown men sit on television who's supposed to know something about basketball, I might add. And they're discussing Kevin Love wasn't in a picture with LeBron. What does it mean? And I had to turn the volume up, to be honest with you, because I was going over some NCAA notes, and I was just I just saw the caption. I said, let me turn this up and listen. And I saw these fools on television discussing what does it mean for their relationship that LeBron took a picture with guys and Kevin Love wasn't in the picture. Man, this stuff gets so silly nowadays. I mean, sports, you guys have let the Twitter, the internet.
Here we go, you guys. Here we go.
No, you guys make everybody feel like their opinion matter. You guys, seriously, you guys make everybody feel like their opinion matter. First of all, your opinion don't matter. Everybody's opinion don't matter. When you just watch the game and enjoy the game. I know it makes great TV and PR and blah 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 blah, but to sit around and act like because Kevin Love wasn't in a picture, or then my new favorite. When Kevin said Russell Westbrook would get his vote for MVP, they spent another 2 days on that. Well, how is this going to affect their relationship? Man, some of the stuff is just so silly.
Well, you can
nowadays.
blame me for that. I asked Kevin Love who he'd vote for, and that
Kevin Love can't have an opinion?
I said he was being honest. He has more of a friendship with Russell Westbrook there, and I thought he was being honest. Now, was it a...
Listen, if you want to vote for Russell Westbrook, I have no problem with that either. I told you my vote would go to James Harden. I put Steph second, probably put Westbrook third, and LeBron fourth. But if somebody wanted to vote for Westbrook, I would have no problem with that. But to try to create, and first of all, it wasn't your fault, Dan. It's these other fools. Because, I wouldn't do your show if I thought you were a fool, right?
I don't know. I've seen you on other shows, and I don't know if I could...
I'm very selective on what shows I'm on, number one. But it's interesting, Kevin Love, he can say Russell Westbrook, but don't turn it into a saga. It wasn't your network over the next few days.
I know.
Is Kevin? What's going to happen with LeBron and Kevin? I'm like, I think LeBron's going to kill him.
I want you to be honest with me on this. How tough is it to watch college basketball?
Well, I think they got to make some changes. I think they need to speed the game up. I do. I think that's the biggest problem. They've got to speed the game up.
Guys can't shoot, Charles.
Well, because we're part of the ESPN generation, Dan. It's been ruining our game for the last 20 years.
You got to just be able to dunk, and you'll make the highlights.
That's all you show.
I don't work there anymore.
I know you don't, but I'm saying there's been a dumb down, especially, I'm not a big AAU fan, but there's been a dumb down of the game the last 20 years because they make a great game and they only going to show dunks or a guy making a fancy pass, and that's really hurt the game. So all these kids, and first of all, you compound that when they're not going to college and learning how to play. So we're becoming AAU NBA is what I call it. We got a bunch of guys who got some talent, but they're cutting out the process of learning how to play. So they play the game strictly on talent. They don't know how to play. So what happens is when you get to the NBA, you're not more talented than people. So that's when your flaws really start to show. So that's what's really happening to the game. You learn how to play in college. Listen, if you're a McDonald's All-American, you're not learning how to play in high school. You're better than everybody else. You used to have to go to college and learn how to play. But now we've cut out the middleman. So now we got a bunch of players in the NBA who have some talent, but they don't know how to use it.
All right, final 30 seconds. If I was choosing up sides for a pickup game with everybody working on March Madness, who would be my number one pick playing hoops?
Probably Reggie Miller.
Reggie's the best player still?
No, I don't know if he's the best player, but he can always shoot. I saw him make like 25 jumpers in a row. We had him on tape somewhere. He was on the road where he made
Portland.
like 25 jumpers in a row. But none of us can move.
Okay, if nobody's allowed to be in the paint.
Well, first of all, I'm never going to leave the paint.
No, you're not allowed. No, because Shaq is 7'2". I mean, that won't be fair. I just, throw it into Shaq. But if nobody's allowed to be in the paint.
Oh, Shaq can't score outside the paint. Shaq can't score outside the paint, so that rules him out.
All right, so what about Clark Kellogg?
He retired because he got hurt the first time. You think he can still play now?
Kenny probably still thinks he can play.
Kenny can't play a lick. It's over. You ever seen his knees rub together? I think, hey, listen, we always joke, it's just a matter of time if he just explodes. Because his knees rub together, it's just a matter of time if he starts to spark and explode.
Have fun this weekend.
All right, my brother. You take care of yourself.
All right, thank you, Charles. That's Charles Barkley, NBA on TNT.